Hey everyone, this is Dean Rader. I am back with yet another installment of Poems That Changed Me. Today's poem is by Emily Dickinson, and it changed me very early on. In fact, she's a poet who continues to change me. I feel like every time I encounter her work, it's for the first time. I'm always learning something from her. I think of her as maybe one of my first and one of my greatest teachers. The poem I'm going to read and talk about is one of her better known poems, poem 372, After Great Pain, a Formal Feeling Comes. After great pain, a formal feeling comes. The nerves sit ceremonious like tombs. The stiff heart questions, was it he that bore? And yesterday, or centuries before? The feet mechanical go round, a wooden way of ground or air or aught, regardless groan, a court's contentment like a stone. This is the hour of lead, remembered if outlived, as freezing persons recollect the snow, first chill, then stupor, then the letting go. Okay, an intense poem, a great poem. So what changed me about this poem? Well, a couple of things. First, her rhythmic feet, her syntax, the pacing of the poem. Traditionally, 19th century poetry, and even early 20th century poetry, we think of the iambic foot as the standard foot in English, especially America. Like Robert Frost's Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, whose woods these are, I think, I know, that da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Dickinson wrote this in 1862, I believe, when she wrote a lot of her great poems. And she is playing, in my mind, to my ear, with the traditional assumptions of the iamb. Sometimes the line or the feet, the poetic feet, are iambic, but I think often they're spondees. And spondees are two words or two syllables that have equal weight, like a great pain. I even think the word feeling. Feeling, you wouldn't really say that, or feeling. Maybe it's a little bit trochaic, but not really. So one of the things I think she does here is switch up iambic and spondaic feet to sort of propel and halt movement. And I think that the equal pressure on the feet mirrors the use of feet at the beginning of the second stanza, the kind of walking motion. I feel like this poem tries to walk more than it tries to skip. It kind of walks and then stops and then starts again. She uses commas and dashes and inventive line breaks. So there's enjambed lines, and enjambed lines are lines where the linguistic unit, the phrase, carries over from one line to the next. But there's also end-stopped lines, and that's typical poetic line where the phrase ends when the line ends. So the last word of the line usually has a comma or a dash. That indicates the end of the linguistic unit or the phrase. So she mixes up spondees and iambs. She mixes up dashes and commas, enjambed lines, end-stopped lines, 4-line stanza, 5-line stanza, 4-line stanza. So it's like symmetrical but not symmetrical, equal but not equal, consistent but inconsistent, like so many Dickinson poems, and as it would happen, like life. But the other thing that really got me about this poem, and it's something I continue to think about all the time, is that line, "This is the hour of lead." I have never really come across a line that has done more for me and to me than that line. Something about the pacing, "This is the hour of lead." Its heaviness, its lapidary nature, is in concert with its leadness, its heaviness. And this whole notion of the poem about stupor and heaviness and weight and stones, its denseness, is all encoded in that line. She doesn't say this is like the hour of lead, or this is similar to a leaden hour, but this is the hour of lead. So intense, so heavy. And all of the associations we have with lead, one of the heaviest elements, are encoded into that line. And then that beautiful line is resonated throughout the poem with the assonance of the first stanza and the alliteration of the first stanza, the F's in the first stanza, that kind of drops down to the heaviness of that last stanza. And so what I loved about this poem and what really changed things for me was how Dickinson communicates the incommunicability of suffering and the post-suffering moment without really spelling anything out for you. T.S. Eliot says that great poems can communicate before they are understood, and there is no better example of this notion than this poem. I think everyone who reads this poem kind of gets what she's trying to accomplish here. We're certainly in like the 60 to 80% range. No one's got it 100%, but no one's really totally miffed by this poem either. We get what's happening here. And that one declarative statement, this is the hour of lead, brings everything down, concentrates everything that the poem has been working up to into that elemental line, just as the element of lead carries that heaviness itself. This is a great poem, and if it hasn't changed you yet, it's about to.